A lot of people say Google ads and Bing ads in terms of them facing off on each other, like it's a competition between the two platforms, but ultimately it's never a competition. Google will always win that battle. So in this video, I'm going to break down the advantages and disadvantages of both platforms and look at how you can leverage both for your overall search marketing campaign strategy, and all of that and more coming up. Hey guys, Darren Taylor of thebigmarketer.com here, and my job is to teach you all about digital marketing. Now, if that sounds like something up your street, you should consider subscribing to my channel, and don't forget to ring the bell to keep updated on all of my new videos every single week. And in this video, I'm talking to you guys about the key differences between Microsoft Bing in terms of the Bing ads platform versus the Google ads platform, and understanding the difference between the two. But as I said at the beginning of this video, there's no competition between the two. The very fact that Bing ads has an import function to import your Google ads campaigns tells you who the winner is there. So this video is really going to focus on the advantages and disadvantages of both the platforms, and hopefully you'll be able to leverage them for your business as well. First off, a good place to start is looking at the difference in search volume on each of the networks. Now, of course, Google has a lot of search volume. A lot of searches take place on Google on a daily, hourly, minute by minute basis. When you compare the volume to Bing, it pales in comparison. Bing has a lot less search volume available. So if you're planning a campaign on Google ads and you want to import your campaigns into Bing ads, you're going to see a massive drop in volume. You're going to see volumes quite often 1/10 of what you'll see on Google. Does that mean you just don't use Bing ads? Well, of course it doesn't. And what it means is that you can leverage Bing ads to top up the volume you'd get from Google ads alone. So even though the difference in volume is massive and you can only typically get about 1/10 of what you'd normally get on Google, it's still worth doing, because ultimately more conversions, more traffic, there's no argument there. You're definitely going to need to do that in order to top up your volumes from paid search. So you might be put off by that and put off by Bing, but ultimately it's a good product and you should use it if you want to increase your overall volume from paid search. The next thing to compare is the cost differences. Now, average CPCs on Google are typically a lot higher than they are on Bing, and the simple reason for that is, of course, competition. There are a lot more businesses who want to spend money on Google ads as opposed to Bing ads, and that is a key factor in determining the cost per click. So ultimately, Google ads is more expensive than Bing ads, not just from a cost per click point of view, but of course from a volume point of view as well, as I mentioned in my first point. So you can spend a lot more money on Google ads compared with Bing. But again, the advantage Bing has here is that cheaper click costs mean a lower cost per conversion. If you're generating traffic for the same search terms you're using on Google and you get them over at Bing a lot cheaper, then ultimately you're really improving the efficiencies of your overall search marketing strategy. So again, it goes back to my point that you should be using Bing ads as part of your strategy, because cheaper click costs usually equals cheaper conversions. So it's a very good idea to advertise on Bing just for that reason alone, really. And while we're on the subject of conversion rates, let's move on to my third point, which is typically I see in a lot of B2B and more niche campaigns that Bing ads actually has a better conversion rate than Google ads in terms of search. So ultimately, Bing ads has cheaper traffic and in some cases has a higher conversion rate. Therefore, it's yet another argument to go ahead and set your campaigns up on Bing as well as Google. Now, there are quite a few schools of thought on why the conversion rate on Bing can sometimes be higher than Google. Some people say it's an older user demographic, meaning they've probably got more money, and because potentially they don't know how to change their default browser, which is is questionable in itself. But ultimately, no one really knows the different specific demographics between Bing users and Google users. There's not much research in this area, but some of these speculations do tend to lean towards the side of people who use Bing as their default search engine often have a higher, net worth demographic because of age. Though that could be a preconception, so don't take my word for it. But a lot of the data shows that, generally speaking, conversion rates on Bing can be better than Google in some instances. So again, another reason to use Bing. And before I continue, let me just confront the Bing haters that are probably watching this video right now. Bing as a search engine might not be working for you for a number of reasons, and I've actually made a video onto the most typical reason I see Bing campaigns not working when you import from Google, and I've linked that up in the description below, so check that out before you become a hater. But in addition to that, one of the other things Bing does, which links into the video I've linked up below, is that they opt you into a lot of search engines in order to try and increase their volume, to try and get even close to the level of volume of search that Google has. But quite often these search engines are pretty spammy and can cause bad results. So check out the video below if you want to avoid advertising on those spammy search engines. Next up, we're going to explore the interfaces between the two platforms. Now, Google Ads has been around as a platform a lot longer than Bing Ads, and in earnest, Bing Ads really as a platform only started in 2012 as it exists today. So Google have had a lot more learning time than Bing to learn how people use the platform and how to make it more, I guess, functional for the user, and it definitely shows. Google Ads as a platform runs really smoothly, and the new interface rollout from Google last year actually does help with that as well. But ultimately, Bing Ads is quite far behind. I find the system quite slow, it can be quite buggy, it's harder to reach things, and it really does feel like Google's little brother. So it does make a difference on how fast you can move within the platforms, but the more you use Bing Ads, the better you get at it. So again, it's another reason not to avoid Bing Ads, because it does work for you, even though the interface isn't as good as Google. And of course, the other thing that comes with an average to worse quality interface than Google is that the reporting isn't as strong either. So all of the other reporting you use in Google Ads, a lot of it in Bing is harder to reach and harder to replicate, and Google's reporting suite on Google Ads is actually quite good. So again, this is another reason that Google wins, and it's down to experience really. So again, you need to make sure that you really get to grips with the Bing Ads interface, because it can be a bit of a nightmare sometimes, even though they have tried to replicate the Google Ads interface to some degree as well. And finally, the last point I want to make in the comparison between the two platforms is the support. Now, as a new advertiser or a small business owner who's not a professional marketer, it's really important that you have good support for the product. So everybody knows Google's support. I've had issues with it in the past in terms of what they tell advertisers on the phone in terms of campaign setup, so there's another video I've linked in the description below for that rant as well. But ultimately, Bing Ads isn't that different in that regard in terms of the advice. A lot of the advice sounds quite driven to spending more money on the platform, which, you know, is commercially good for them but not necessarily good for the advertiser. But I guess the key difference between the two bits of support from Bing and Google is that for Bing, you can actually get through quite quickly to speak to somebody, and that of course plays back to my first point around the actual volume. The number of customers Bing has compared to Google is very small, so that's a good point for Bing. However, Bing also has a live chat feature, and a lot of people don't want to make a phone call and, you know, wait on hold, so a live chat feature is really helpful for those kind of users. So that is another bonus I guess Bing has over Google. But ultimately, the two products, they're both effective. You need to use them both. But again, as I said at the beginning of the video, Google Ads wins. It's the best place to be if you're going to start spending on paid search. But then when you've maximized your Google revenue and you've got your campaigns optimized to a T, roll over to Bing Ads, import your campaigns, set them up in the right way, and then use that Bing Ads volume to top up your Google search volume, because it's going to help you get more conversions and maybe for cheaper as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked the video, please leave a like below. Let me know in the comments if you have been a Bing hater and whether I've convinced you to start trying to spend some money on Bing to see if you can get some results. More important than that, check out the other content on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys on my next video.